think we are going to get started with the State of the City address. So I have a welcome speech that I'm going to read and then turn it over to our mayor. So thank you all for joining us for the 2022 Gresham State of the City. I'm the Gresham High School principal, Drake Shelton. A special thank you to each of you here in person and our audience watching via the live stream broadcast. Travis Stovall was sworn into office as Gresham's 28th mayor on January 5th, 2021. Mayor Stovall made history as Gresham's first black mayor and of any major city in the Portland metro area and across the state. His life experience and leadership have guided the city and community forward when unity has never been more critical. Mayor Stovall has spent years in Gresham working to support the City of Gresham and our community. Before he was elected, Mayor Stovall spent years as a small business owner and still serves as CEO of EREP Incorporated. From serving on the TriMet board to being featured in the Oregonian for his dynamic leadership when serving as president of the board of directors of the Gresham Area Chamber of Commerce and the Visitor Center, Mayor Stovall has impacted everywhere he has led. Mayor Stovall's lengthy history of volunteer local government service includes serving on the city's Community Development and Housing Subcommittee, chair of the Charter Review Committee, and the past Gresham Task Force on housing to help create affordable housing units. As mayor, his priorities include the city's budget, public and community safety, making sure families, individuals, and businesses have the support needed to recover from COVID-19, and building affordable housing for Gresham at every income level. Mayor Stovall holds a Bachelor of Science from Union College in Business Administration with an emphasis in finance, where he graduated cum laude. He graduated with a Master's in Business Administration from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. In his free time, Mayor Stovall is a private pilot, plays tennis, cycles, and enjoys spending time traveling. Due to COVID-19, this will be Mayor Stovall's first State of the City address, and I believe he chose the best location in America to hold it. Go Gophers. From COVID-19 to community safety and everything in between, this year's address will update our community on the progress made over the last year while paving a roadmap for the journey ahead. Please help me welcome the 28th Mayor of Gresham, Mr. Travis Stovall.
Thank you very much, Drake. Greatly appreciate it. What a gorgeous facility we're in this evening. And it would be remiss of me not to start off by thanking just a couple of folks. And first and foremost, that's Larry Morgan. Larry, if you're in the room, Larry Morgan, and then Sarah Kagan. The two of these have put this together, and I want to give them a big round of applause. So certainly want to say thank you. Before we jump in to some of the remarks, I do want to say the auditorium is beautiful, gorgeous auditorium, and it most likely isn't full this evening because we're still coming out of COVID. So if you're looking around, you're seeing empty seats. I like to tell myself it's because of COVID, not the fact that this is my first State of the City address. And I appreciate the fact that we only filled it a little bit to make sure that my stage fright didn't get the best of me, because you know what they say. They say one of the biggest fears in life is the fear of death or the fear of dying. And of course, the second fear in life is the fear of public speaking. And so actually for me, when you combine those, my greatest fear is dying by public speaking. So if that should happen this evening, just call my mother. She'll know what to do and get things taken care of. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover this evening because we've had a chance to talk about and do a lot of things over the last wow, it's almost been 15 months since I took office. And so it is truly my pleasure to join each of you today to reflect on the last year and share the extraordinary developments and opportunities and the challenges that we have seen in our city. We wanted to hold it in this place that represents the future of our city. Every day, hundreds of young people walk these halls and dream from this very stage about the next phase of their lives. And in the same hopeful reflection as the youth that daily fill these halls, we also find in ourselves the same hopeful reflection and optimism at the City of Gresham. In my mind, I think of this moment as a renaissance, which is a rebirth or a revival. After a long couple of years in isolation and solitude due to the pandemic, we have a unique chance to reimagine Gresham, reinvent ourselves, and reemerge stronger, better, and even more resilient than before. I see Gresham, and it's a Gresham with a reflection of its past, but yet a commitment towards an inclusive future. But before I get to that, I want to take the moment to acknowledge our strong Gresham leadership team. And they are helping lead the way to a brighter future. I'd like to start with the members of the City Council. And as a team, we have had and made collective decisions on behalf of our community and with the future in mind. And I am grateful for each of our city councilors and leaders. I'd like to first start off with Council President Eddie Morales, Councilor Janine Gladfelter, Councilor Dina DiNucci, who is here with us this evening, Councilor Sue Piazza, Councilor Vincent Jones-Dixon, and Councilor Mario Pomero. As mayor, it is an honor to serve with each and every one of these elected officials as we put the community first. It is also an honor to work with each of them as one team, Team Gresham. I also wanted to acknowledge our city staff under the leadership of our city manager, Nina Vetter. And I want to make sure that our entire community absolutely knows how hard our city staff works. When we look at the size of our city staff in comparison to other cities, we're actually quite small. But that size does not actually indicate whether or not we can get the work done. And that also doesn't mean that we're at the right size going forward. Because even though our team shines bright every single day and in everything they do, we as a city need to make the investments and come together to bring the right amount of resources to bear on the opportunities and challenges that lie before us. And in addition to our city councilors and our staff, I'd also like to thank community partners that have had the opportunity to work with us on many of the things that we've been able to accomplish. It's nearly impossible to count all we have seen change around us in the last couple of years. The pace of life, how we embrace each other, the political discourse, and the sheer amount of hand sanitizer we have all had to use. And though this period is still fraught with hardships and uncertainty for many, this is a consequential time to demonstrate our collective resolve and shared purpose. Part of this perspective comes from acknowledging where we have been and with a renewed commitment to where we are going. Part of this commitment and acknowledgement is knowing our history, both good and bad. And beyond that, we seek to embrace the collective impact we can all have and take accountability for what we can each do to improve where we live. In the last year, I have become even more familiar with our city's history and our state's history. And when I think about quotes that truly encapsulate what it means to me to fill the role as an elected official, I'm reminded of a former Oregon leader, Governor Tom McCall. When asked about leadership in the late stages of his life, he gave this quote: "Heroes are not giant statues framed against a red sky. They are people who say, 'This is my community, and it is my responsibility to make it better.'" When I was looking over this quote, I thought of someone who has lived in our community since the 1980s. If I remember the story right, he moved to Gresham when he was just 15 years old. His family had little to their name and didn't know very many people in the Gresham community. But the Gresham community educated him in a way that allowed him to find his purpose and his passion. He graduated right here from Gresham High School and found his way through to entrepreneurship. At the ripe old age of 29, focusing both community and service, he ran for the Gresham City Council and won. Then in 2006, he ran for mayor, and he was sworn in 2007 as one of the youngest mayors in the entire country. From there, the rest is history. He led Gresham through economic expansion, led through the Great Recession, connected our great city with opportunities from around the globe. It's a story of a kid from somewhere who could have led anywhere, but chose Gresham and has forever left his mark. His story is uniquely Gresham, and his name is Mayor Shane T. Bemis. Let's give Shane T. Bemis a big round of applause. He did let me know that he wasn't going to be able to make it this evening, but I still wanted to highlight an individual that gave 18 years of his life committed to this community. And many of those years, as many of you know, was done without any compensation. So that's dedication to a community that is tremendous. And so as a city, as we begin to turn the page on this pandemic, we can't help but to acknowledge what has happened in its path. And he's a part of that shared path. And not simply just the simple effects of budgetary and social change, but also what these changes will mean for the future and our collective resilience. In the light of such darkness, the city has used this time to reflect and plan. And now we must execute. As many of you know, the City of Gresham will receive a total of $25.6 million through the American Rescue Plan, better known as ARPA. These one-time funds have strict and defined purposes. The City Council and city leadership have worked diligently to ensure that we invest equitably and impactfully for the benefit of our entire community. The first area of investment the city made was within segments hardest hit by COVID-19. So we invested in our small businesses. The city acted nimbly and with timely, crucial support to help small businesses. This action was paramount as we saw a record number of small businesses close. The city dedicated over $500,000 to small business assistance with our ARPA funds. These grants have eased pandemic-related financial impacts on small businesses, and as we saw through the pandemic, a disproportionate amount of BIPOC businesses close compared to the average small business. So we as a city earmarked funds for the state-certified women and minority and veteran and emerging small businesses. Part and parcel to our small business community, is that of our community-based organizations, better known as CBOs, and nonprofits. These folks were on the front lines during the pandemic, serving and protecting our most vulnerable populations. Our city would not have been able to help nearly as many families as we did without their efforts. This is why the city invested over $350,000 in ARPA funds for nonprofit organizations and CBOs that provide essential services to community members negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. With a focus on vulnerable populations, these investment dollars have been transformative to the organizations that received them. Some of these organizations included Birch Community Services, the Latino Network, Rockwood CDC, Women First Transition and Referral Center, My Father's House, and many more. In a period, though, when the Slavic community has been pushed to the brink, we were able to invest in language-specific support here in Gresham, offering utility and cultural food assistance, a significant investment in a very difficult time. And while we are talking about our Slavic community, let me say this. The City of Gresham welcomes you, loves you, stands with you, and supports you. We stand with the people of Ukraine and all of our Slavic friends and neighbors here in Gresham and around the world. Additionally, we've invested in Meals for Wills for kids, a digital literacy program with our community partners at Metro East, who is here this evening helping us with our streaming, and numerous other community investments. These and numerous items that we will talk about later were possible because of our national, state, and regional leadership. We'd like to thank U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, and our congressman from the other high school across the way, Centennial High School graduate Earl Blumenauer. We'd like to thank Governor Kate Brown, State Senator Chris Gorsuch, State Representatives Ricky Ruiz, Zach Hudson, Multnomah County Chair Deborah Kafori, and Commissioner Lori Stegman. Their tireless support and leadership and belief in Gresham will help us reinvest and reemerge better than ever before. And these funds came at a crucial time and have allowed us to support our friends and neighbors in this critical moment to address immediate needs here in Gresham. And our senior leadership team at the city, our hardworking staff, and our city council have strategically worked to build a roadmap for inclusive, resilient, and equitable recovery. Public safety. That's one pressing topic that I want to be sure to acknowledge up front and head on in the discussion surrounding police. And I want to take this moment. We've got a couple of key officers here this evening. I want to take this moment to welcome them and thank them and give them a big round of applause. So, public safety and community safety and our path forward. But before I delve into that, I want to say something. We have all watched a weary nation and our local community participate, in my opinion, in unashamed partisan rancor, allowing unwanted forces to work daily to undermine our social fabric, connective tissue, and shared destiny. My absolute commitment as your mayor is that I will work to begin to bring us together and help shine a light on the unfinished work that lies before us. And in this work, our approach must be collaborative and comprehensive. We must have an underlying belief that the bonds that hold us together are more powerful than the differences pulling us apart. Gresham is a city that's big enough to have robust debate and constructive disagreements that is welcoming to all while understanding the interconnected and complex challenges of keeping our community safe. We all have seen the rising crime numbers. Gresham is not an outlier, unfortunately. The surge in violence has affected nearly every community in our state and across the country. This violence is unacceptable and it must end. That is why in January, the City of Gresham announced comprehensive strategies and a new citywide initiative called Safe Gresham. These initiatives and the methods are aimed at tackling gun crime and violence at large while using collaboration, intervention, and prevention as tools to make our city safer. But talk is cheap. So, as a city, we're devoting $5.2 million of our ARPA funds, one of the largest one-time public safety investments in our city's history to further invest in our community safety. When it comes to keeping Gresham safe, we're working to build trust and long-standing relationships between law enforcement and the community they are sworn to serve. Because in Gresham, we don't believe that our city should have to choose between public safety and public trust. So let's talk about these investment dollars and where they are going. We have reserved a significant portion of these funds for the hiring of additional police officers and 6 sworn non-police positions to address the rise in violent crime against our region and across our region. We'll be adding capacity at the Police Mental Health Services coordination team by adding 2 clinicians who can further help our officers and give our city an additional set of eyes, ears as we collectively deal with the mental health crises. We have used these funds to help us secure crucial and much-needed training and equipment. The city has allocated funds to hire 4 community safety officers and trained civilian positions who can handle nonviolent police calls, such as property crimes, reports, directing traffic, and community relations. This will help our officers with workflow while giving the time-sensitive response and attention to urgent needs the public deserves. The city will be increasing the number of paramedics we have on staff, which will increase our team in EMS. All this is possible because of the American Rescue Plan and the city's council commitment to keeping our city safe. And while we're talking about our commitment to community safety, let me be clear. In Gresham, we believe that we tackle violent crime, the way we tackle violent crime is not to defund the police, but to fully fund accountable police officers with the resources and training they need to protect our city and keep our community members safe. Using a modern and collaborative approach, the Gresham community and Gresham Police Department will strive to work together to find holistic solutions catered to our community. And our police are led by Chief Travis Goldberg. There's something about that name that I really like. I don't know if it's the Gull or the Berg. Chief Goldberg joined us last summer, and we are blessed to have him. He's providing leadership to our police department. I've had a couple of great conversations with him and look forward to all the things that he is going to be able to do under his leadership, having the opportunity to have our Deputy City Manager, Corey Falls, them work together as we move towards, again, a more safe community. And Chief has already identified key staff to begin the journey of meaningful community engagement, which is critical as we move forward. And that critical engagement is built on lasting relationships. On the intervention and prevention side, the city has allocated $1 million of our ARPA funds to build our city's first ever youth violence prevention program and launch the Division of Youth Services. That is an incredible opportunity for our city. I was just talking to one of our great police officers, and he mentioned that this program is going to be something that allows us to do this better than we ever have. So I'm looking forward to the implementation of this because it's truly about intervention and prevention as we begin to move forward towards a safer future. And so better coordination will always mean better outcomes, and better outcomes will lead to a safer Gresham. But for our work to be successful, we must meet our community where they are and provide the resources that they need. And these resources must be community-driven and include health and behavioral perspectives to address the root causes of violence. The city has already hit the ground running and partnered with community organizations to provide culturally responsive case managers and wraparound service for high-risk youth and families. What you see here is Latino Network's new facility that they're currently raising money for. We're excited about what we have, the opportunity of bringing this incredible resource to our community. So if you haven't seen it before, it's just a beautiful location that we're looking to add to our city as far as resources go. Now, running parallel to the culturally specific partnerships, though, has been a conversation surrounding programming, facilities, and expanding opportunities. I am pleased to give an update on work surrounding Graydon Sports Park. The City of Gresham is investing in our people and recreational opportunities for our community once again, and the investment in Graydon is not simply a recreational investment, it's an economic development investment, it's a tourism investment, it's an investment in our youth engagement, and it's an investment in Gresham. Youth sports tourism is one of the fastest growing segments in tourism, and until this moment, we have been limited with options for tournament play here on the east side, specifically here in Gresham. But when completed, Gresham will actually lead the region with a 21st century destination sports complex, and with tourism comes a much needed post-pandemic jolt to an industry that has been shuttered for the last few years. And I want to recognize we've got, when I think about Graydon Sports Park and I think about the leadership it took and it takes to get it here, our amazing staff has done incredible work getting this here to where we are today. I also want to recognize former City Councilor Carol Nilsson, who's here this evening. Councilor Nilsson was one of the key individuals that assisted back in the day when we were working on some of these incredible projects. And so, we get to stand on the shoulders of giants, and tonight you're a giant. So with approximately $5 million, you heard me correctly, $5 million in total project funding, the city will be able to add many of the amenities included in that original master plan. These funds were acquired through the efforts led by the leadership team in our city. There are so many people worked on this. There's one person right down in front, Brian Monberg. I know he did a lot of work. I worked closely with him on the efforts, and many other folks. And with the leadership of Congressman Earl Blumenauer, actually, our state representatives and our state senators. So the bulk of that money came from the federal coffers and then from our state coffers. So it's incredible that we were able to leverage these incredible funds to make these incredible investments in our community. And you see it there, kind of a little outline of Graydon Sports Park. And it's an example of how investing in ourselves, which we must do in one area, positively impacts the city in every area. And after decades of waiting, we have the funding to complete the development of Graydon Sports Park, which I am super excited about, because it will be a staple for our community for generations to come. Everything we do here in Gresham, much of what we do is about people, from delivering our services to the recruitment of new businesses to partnerships. But we don't always take the time to hear the stories. So I have a story for you this evening. This came from our homeless services team. There was an individual that they contacted, and he was living in a local park, and he had been homeless and living on the streets for some time. Based on what I was told, he didn't have any friends, he was lonely, and really didn't trust the system at that point. And so over the course of a few weeks, our staff, our team, worked with this individual. And eventually, in the third week, the individual finally said, "I want to absolve you of the services that you're referencing." And at that point, he was actually open to going to Bybee Lakes Hope Center in Northeast Portland. After some time there, he actually reached back out to our team. Now, our team actually doesn't stop right there. Our team continues to work closely with individuals as much as they would allow us to ensure that even when they take that first step, we can be there for the additional steps along the way. So we check in. So they were checking in with him, and he reached out at one point and said, "How do you do what you do?" So our team worked with him to help him get a better understanding of how we do what we do here at the City of Gresham and our homeless services efforts. And now he is actually wanting to go out and help others. He's actually looking at moving into a position there at Bybee Lakes Hope Center as a caseworker and wants to give back. He's part of a team that goes out to downtown Portland and actually helps pick up trash and clean up areas in downtown Portland. Those are the stories that we're talking about here in Gresham. Those are the things, those are the benefits of what we do as a city as we help these individuals. It's not just about saying we're going to move you from this location into a shelter. No, we want to see you have tremendous opportunity as you begin to move forward. And when other systems seem to be failing our folks that are homeless, Gresham is standing up and doing the right thing. And so it's with great honor that I get the opportunity to represent a staff and a team that works so hard to ensure that we're delivering incredible services to the folks out in the unsheltered situations and scenarios that they are in. Central to the homeless conversation, though, is the need for affordable housing and middle housing, because without those, it's pretty challenging. So we need to be building a pathway to home ownership. With each passing day, we see the dwindling inventory of housing options and the lack of affordable options. So the city actually acted decisively under the leadership of our folks in our housing areas, under the leadership of our Assistant City Manager, Eric Schmidt. And they recommended that we assist in ensuring that we work to utilize our ARPA funds to save the Aldercrest apartments from potentially getting sold and not being affordable housing. And in 2022, Gresham's first two Metro bond-funded affordable rental projects will complete construction. These are the Albertina Kerr development and the Rockwood Village. The Albertina Kerr development will include 150 units of affordable housing. This building will also utilize innovation to solve climate goals, as the building will be net zero and residents will not have utility bills. This is the fourth largest multifamily net zero project in the entire country. The second project is the Rockwood Village. This development includes 224 affordable units. This location will offer resident services programming through a centralized community building to activate the included park, educate and engage youth, and assist families with economic opportunity building and entrepreneurship. Another example of collaboration, synergy, and community. In 2021 and 2022, Gresham directly assisted vulnerable community members impacted by COVID-19 with rent assistance, utility assistance, meal assistance, business assistance, and youth services. Adjacent to Rockwood Village is another crowning achievement in our city, the Rockwood West Gresham Urban Renewal District. For those unfamiliar, the 1,211-acre Rockwood West Gresham Urban Renewal area was established by the citywide vote in November 2003, and in 2006, the City of Gresham Redevelopment Commission acquired the former 5-acre Fred Meyer site. And now that site has been developed into over 200,000 square feet of new commercial, office, and retail space that will serve the Rockwood community for generations to come. The Rockwood West Gresham Urban Renewal District is an economic engine that further transforms our city into a prosperous, healthy, and thriving community that provides opportunities for all. Organizations that will be... I touched the screen. Maybe it will come back. Organizations that will be located in the development, let me see if we can make that work again. In the development are Mount Hood Community College, their Small Business Development Center, WorkSource Oregon, Wallace Medical Concern, a federally qualified nonprofit community health center, Little Wings Academy, a full-service daycare and preschool, the Rockwood Market Hall, Rosemary Anderson High School, and the Portland Opportunities Industrialization Center, the REACH program, and Oregon Trades Women, Inc. They'll have a training center and a workshop. For those who are unfamiliar with Oregon Trades Women, they are a state-certified apprenticeship readiness program helping women prepare for careers in the skilled trades, in the skilled construction trades. We're ecstatic that they chose Gresham to be their new home. By the numbers, urban renewal has already paid dividends to our city. $44.1 million has been invested in the Rockwood West Gresham area. We have attracted $179.2 million in private investments. We've added 670 jobs to the urban renewal area through 40 new businesses with an average salary of $62,000 a year. Economic development, training, entrepreneurship, and community partnerships, all as a result of this strategic investment. Absolutely amazing. And the city wants to double down on this type of investment. This is why the city has proposed Measure 26223 for the May 17th election. This proposed measure would extend the Rockwood West Gresham Urban Renewal District through 2029, giving us another opportunity to ensure that we can execute on the plan that was originally developed. Some of the challenges that kind of slowed things down, as we know, were the Great Recession, and then we had this thing called the pandemic just recently. So those challenges contributed to our inability to truly execute on all the plans that we had for that great community. So as we reflect, I am happy to report that the City of Gresham is strong. We have our challenges. I know, we certainly have our challenges. But I do believe that we are stronger today than we were a year ago. And we will be stronger a year from now than we are today. I'm hopeful. Talked about it at the beginning, the hopefulness that we have in the youthful youthful aura as we stand in this high school auditorium is what gives me that hope. And again, I can't say it enough. Most of what we do is through great people. And I've mentioned Eric Schmidt as one of our assistant city managers, but I want to make sure I highlight a couple more. We've got assistant city manager Elizabeth Coffey and assistant city manager Steve Fancher doing amazing work with their incredible teams. You talk about doing more with less. That's what we have to do whenever Elizabeth has to sit down and start taking a look at our next budget. Same with Steve Fancher and what we have to do there and the work that we have to do in our parks, on our roads, and our streets, all of those things in our infrastructure. All of those things require doing more with less. But Gresham, I challenge you to come along for this journey and adventure as we look forward, as we begin to reemerge and reimagine where we could go as a city, as we execute on the plans that we've now put in place. I'm excited about what the future holds for Gresham, not just because I'm your mayor, but because all the incredible people that live here. That's what brings me such incredible excitement. And at the start of my remarks, I briefly mentioned the Renaissance. Thank you.